Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Central Intelligence presented by Off the Glass. You can follow along on Twitter at OTG Basketball. I'm Matthew Handel and joined my co-host Kory Waldron. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Matt, how you doing? And to all the listeners out there, this was our fourth attempt to get this opening correct. We want you guys to have the best experience here at Central Intelligence, giving you the best content from around the division. Matt, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I want to ask you the probably the hardest question of the podcast. You got any big plans this weekend?
I do, actually. I got a bunch of boys from back home coming up to visit me at school, so planning
No,
on watching some basketball and enjoying the weekend. How
no,
about you?
that's always big. And man, I got tomorrow. Me and my dad are going down to Old Dominion. It's kind of a low name country band, but they're on the rise. We're going to a concert, so I mean, we're both stacked up for some good weekends, but you
Wait a
know,
minute, wait a minute. Are you a country fan?
okay, so they're not. You're gonna look them up on YouTube. You know who Old Dominion is, first of
No,
all?
I've never heard of them, but
All
you
right.
said country, so.
Well, okay. So let me explain. Go on YouTube after this and look up Old Dominion for all my Old Dominion fan. For that one guy listening right now, he knows what's up. But they're like a mixture of pop and country. It's not like hardcore, but I listen to everything. I mean,
All right, all right. I respect it. I'm
so
the same way.
so we have big weekends coming up, right? So I wanted to know, like last week, what happened in our division that we get to talk about. What happened in the Central?
Well, the Pacers, Cavs, and Pistons all went 3-1 this week. The Bulls and Bucks went 1-2. We had the pleasure last week of having probably the greatest game so far this season, and it took place in Washington between the Cavs and Wizards. It went into overtime. LeBron hit a crazy three to tie the game from a crazy outlet pass from Kevin Love. What were your takeaways from that game, Max? I know you were watching.
Oh man! First of all, I want to give a mad shout out to the Wizards, right? Because they looked like they were going to win this game. Not only that, but I mean, you lost the best team in the conference, but I mean, they played so well. And I want to say, I just hope that, I mean, you're not supposed to like root for teams, right? Unless it's your team. But I hope the Wizards are in the Eastern Conference Finals because they played the Cavs so tough. I don't think they'll win in a series because that's a long series against the Cavs. But I mean, they're third in the conference right now, but it was amazing. But I mean, I just want to hear you talk about that shot because I mean, it was mad.
I mean, first, like this, just let's say that we didn't say the score yet. It was 140 to 135.
That's so bad.
I
That's like,
mean, that is crazy scoring.
but I
You
think
know,
do you think there was no defense because like the game, who was playing? There was a game, I forget who was playing, but it was so high scoring and there was like absolutely no defense. But this game, I feel like there's a little bit of defense. Like, do you think there was no defense or do you think it was just great scoring?
I'm gonna say there was very little defense.
Okay.
I know that I think, yeah, the Cavs only had two blocks the whole game from LeBron James.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe
The
I was a
Wizards
little
had
wrong.
five, but I mean, it was just one of those games where the offenses were just clicking. I
Yeah.
mean, Kevin Love had 39, LeBron had 32, Kyrie had 23. And then on the other end, you had Beal who dropped, what he dropped, 40, 41. John Wall at 22. Like it was just one of those games where the entire game felt like a playoff game.
I mean, everyone was hitting, and and you're right too. Like the atmosphere was ridiculous. That's why it was so fun to watch. But it was the teams I was thinking about the game, the Knicks, Clippers. This is totally off topic, but they were playing, and there was absolutely no defense, and you can tell from watching that. Like I don't think there was a ton of defense in this game, the Washington and Cavs, but I think that you couldn't really tell that if that makes any
I
sense.
feel like it wasn't like a sloppy game. That's why
No, yeah,
it was pretty much clean. I don't even think there was a lot of turnovers
no,
for
no,
the
you're
most
right.
part. But what did you think heading into this game? Like, you said the Wizards, you see them as you want to see this matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals. Do you think the Wizards could upset the Cavs in the playoffs, or you just want to see a rematch?
I just want to see the rematch. Like I don't think that they can. I mean, sure, I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible for them, for an upset, but it's either going to take 6 or 7 games for an upset. It's going to for the Wizards. The reason, I mean, going into this game, I was like, this is going to be a great game. Obviously, I think that was the consensus, especially on Twitter, and I think everyone was like, giving the Wizards a lot more credit, and rightfully so, especially on their home court. But I didn't think that they'd give the Cavs, that tough of a game. Especially they could have won it, and then that ridiculous shot to send it to overtime by LeBron. But they were that close to winning. So I definitely didn't see it turning out like that. But I thought it was going to be a good game. Like what were you? Did you think it was going to be that good of a game, or like what were
Well,
you thinking?
we talked about it last week on the pod. The Wizards had a 17-game home winning streak. And we knew that LeBron James, being LeBron James, he runs the East. He's King James. He doesn't like. For example, he played last night against the Pacers, or the other night, and they beat the Pacers and ended their 7-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
When you're the top dog in the East, you want to make sure the teams that are trying to beat you understand that you are still the best team.
Yeah.
And when he went into Washington, I felt like he had that mentality of, for example, he had 17 assists, a career high.
He knew what he was doing.
32, still dropping career highs.
That's true. He knows what he's doing. And I think you're right too. Like LeBron he tries his hardest not to act like he doesn't pay attention to headlines, but he was like, okay, they're on a winning streak at home. Like, let's just take care of this.
And who better to end it than LeBron James and the Cavs?
Yeah.
Like
he pays attention. He pays attention. Like the Pacers won a win streak. He's like, okay, I'm big dog. Like, let's put the foot down. Like we've been terrible in the new year, but it's time to like really get business done, especially against a good Wizards team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you follow it up by beating the Pacers. I think it was the first time in NBA history that that a team beat 2 road teams on 7-game win streaks in a row.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's actually a crazy stat. Like
7-game win streak.
It's like a crazy stat for me that it's the first time it's happened. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was on back-to-back nights too, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like every time, I feel like there's still new stats popping up. Like first time that this has ever happened. I don't know. It's just a super random.
It wasn't back-to-back nights, but it was back-to-back games.
Yeah.
On the road.
I mean, it was definitely within a super small span. But I don't know. The Cavs were clicking definitely back-to-back games, and I think LeBron was like, "All right, listen, folks, this has been a terrible New year, but we're gonna get business done against 2 of the best teams in the East, and that's just how it's gonna go."
This wasn't the only news though the Cavs made this week. The other day they signed somebody to a 10-game contract. He was drafted before the likes of Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson, and that's Derek Williams. What are your thoughts on this 10-game contract for Williams, who was recently released from Miami?
You want to know my thoughts, Kory? Kawhi, who? I mean, Jimmy Butler, who? Who are these guys? Derek Williams is the new guy in town, all right?
Oh, I mean, I respect it. That's a strong statement.
Hot take. No way. It's crazy to think that, especially now, but I thought Derek Williams was a lot older. I looking him up and everything. He's only 5 years into the league. So I think they got a young guy. I mean, he's 6'8". He's a wing, so that's good too, especially with Iman Shumpert going down. I think that this was more of a temporary move by the Cavs because LeBron wants that playmaker. He wants that point guard. Clearly, this isn't it. But with Iman going down, I think they're like, well, we kind of need to fill a gap right now. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's averaging 9.1 points in his career. And I thought, in my first initial thought of Derek Williams was more of like a defensive wing, but I think he can score the ball. And he scored 12 last night in his debut. So, I'll turn this around and ask you, what do you think? Like, what can we expect for Derek Williams? Do you think finishing out the year, or what do you think?
I personally don't think they'll even extend the 10-day contract.
Okay.
But he looked really good last night. He was playing hard on defense. Like you said, he dished in 12 points. He's just a guy who just never developed. He doesn't have a jumper really.
Yeah.
He's not very big, but he's pretty athletic.
He's terrible from 3.
Right. And I think, coming into the league, because he was drafted 2nd overall in 2011, which is crazy to think that, it was Kyrie Irving and then Derek Williams from Arizona.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Maybe he finds when you're playing against LeBron, playing alongside LeBron James, he can turn anyone into looking better than they are.
Yeah.
Norris Cole doesn't have a job now, but he looked like a sure thing in Miami. Mario Chalmers doesn't have a job now, but he had a job in Miami. Yeah. Guys play very good around LeBron James, James Jones, Mike Miller. So, he could – if Derek Williams really starts playing hard on defense and Tyronn Lue likes what he sees and most importantly, LeBron James likes what he sees. He arguably could be seen on the Cavs rest of the season.
And not to mention, the only reason Mario Chalmers was even relevant this year in basketball was because of LeBron, right? They're gonna hold a workout for these guards, and like everyone, even including myself, Mario's name came up, but I was like, you tagged him with, well, he's played with LeBron before, like that gave him an advantage. You know what I mean? So, like you said, Norris Cole and all these guys, LeBron he's always done this in his career. He knows how to get guys to play at the level they should, and a little bit, I think, a little bit even above, because this is a guy that Derek Williams didn't even score double digits since the very first day of this year, January 1st, with the Heat. So he comes in his first game, drops 12. I'd be interested to see, you know, what his next couple games are like, because obviously when you're picked up by the Cavs and the best player in the league, you're going to want to play your best, you know? So I'm going to be interested to see kind of what his games are looking like going forward. But the most interesting thing about this is I didn't even like this just kind of popped out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I didn't even hear anything about a possible Derek Williams signing or the Cavs. I mean, we knew they were going for a point guard, but like, how random was this as random to you as it was to me, or what do you?
It's funny you say that because I was just thinking in my head there was nothing. You know, they cut the Miami Heat cut Derek Williams. Last time we knew the Cavs were still trying to find a playmaker, and then they signed Derek Williams and they contract.
Like
Yeah, it sure was out of left field, but you know, I guess they're just trying to mess around with things because he can't even play a shooting guard position. So when Shump went down, it doesn't even really help them in that area.
Yeah,
So it was an interesting move.
I think it's good for temporary though. I think it's a good move right now. Maybe just because I think without it, I think they'd struggle even more, especially with Shump going down. But definitely, this transitions so well into something that's, I think it's sad. And speaking of a guy going down, Jabari Parker, man, he went out same knee, ACL tear recently. You know, you have to feel for this guy, and a lot of people were, Scottie Pippen, Ron Harper, like a lot of old players, and even Todd Gurley from the Rams. He was, you know, they're sending out like prayers and saying speedy recovery. A lot of guys were taken to Twitter and just wishing
Even
him.
Zach LaVine, who recently went down with his own ACL
Yeah.
injury,
And these are guys that like they don't have to do this, you know what I mean? They don't have to take time out. But, you know, I want to pick your thoughts on that, and it's just sad. What are you thinking about Jabari's injury?
I think I don't want to say I jinxed it, but Middletown came back in the same game.
Yeah.
So everyone was saying, you know, Chris Middleton's coming back. You know, even I was on Twitter saying, this is it. This is when the Bucks start to get some momentum. This is when they make their playoff push. Middletown checks in, and then within 5 minutes, Parker goes down to torn ACL.
Yeah. But
And
I don't blame you though. Like
no, of course,
that's a good take. That's a good
yeah,
take. I mean, Middleton coming back, like the Bucks were looking really nice, and that's like what it's sad. First of all, that it happened to him again, right? Because last year it was sad, and then a second time, same knee. Like he just can't catch a break, and he's been playing so well this year. But then Middleton comes in and it's looking so good. Like, you know, it's looking like the Bucks are going to start heading back up. But like, you know, like you said,
it's just one of those things where it's just the Bucks have been plagued by injuries all season, so it's
hmm
just one thing after another, and then the Parker is just kind of like the cherry on top to the season. You just can't really catch a break, which is unfortunate because I really thought the Bucks had a chance to make some noise in the Eastern Conference. But you know, and it's also worrisome for me just seeing Parker get hurt for the second time because it's the second torn ACL on the same knee. And
hmm
anytime that happens, the first person I think of is Derrick Rose.
yeah,
I worry about will he ever get back to playing like we saw him play this season with explosion. He was athletic. I mean, I can't even bring up how many times Jabari Parker threw down a hammer and it was a ferocious dunk or a step back. You know, he's been
uh-huh.
fantastic this year, arguably an all-star. So it's sad when you see a guy like that go down from an ACL injury, especially when it's the second one in 3 years.
I think that's a good point. The Derrick Rose thing, like you have. I I'm pulling for this guy, and a lot of people are, and it's going to be rare for him to come back, right? no matter how much work you put in, there's two things with an ACL injury. You have the mental part that you have to get over, and then I mean obviously the physical part too. And I think the mental part is the one that lingers the longest. But I think everyone's pulling for Jabari, no, without a doubt. Because an interesting thing too, when Middleton came back and the Bucks were fully healthy and ready to roll, we were talking about this off the air. The Central Division right now, they have a chance to send 4 of their teams into the playoffs. But with the Bucks healthy, they had a really good chance at sending all 5 teams into the playoffs. And we talked about it. They hadn't done that since it's been 11 years since that's even happened. But one of the teams that is fighting for that spot right now is the Detroit Pistons. Especially with the trade deadline coming up, all-star breaks, guys taking vacations. They're playing well right now, but do you think they can add a little bit more? Are they set? Like, what do you think moving forward, especially during the trade deadline and the break?
Well, yeah, the Pistons are the 8th seed right now. They made the playoffs last season as an 8th seed as well. There's been a lot of rumors with Reggie Jackson. Are they going to make a move and possibly trade him? I know there talked about a Ricky Rubio swap a month ago or so. That died, I believe. They're going to make a change. I really think they are, just because they have Tobias Harris and Marcus Morris, 2 guys who I feel like are very similar in what they can do. I'm actually looking at the stats right now. It's weird. Tobias Harris is the leading scorer for the Pistons, and I just never would predict that Tobias Harris would lead a team.
It's not a good thing. That's really not a good thing, though, for them.
I mean, he's shooting 48%. He's having a good year, but it's just your leading scorer should not be Tobias Harris.
No, not at all.
They're good. Like, the funny thing is about the Pistons is you have Andre Drummond.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is the future. He's young. I was watching him against the Celtics a couple weeks ago, and he's got some post moves.
Yeah.
He has a little post hook, and he was putting Al Horford on some nasty moves. It was fun to watch.
Some skates.
But but you have to focus that around him. And like Contavious Caldwell-Pope, one game that guy scores 28, the next game he scores 4.
Yeah.
They don't have a level of consistency. And before when Reggie Jackson went down, they were playing well, and then when he was down, they were playing even better. And now that he's back, they're stagnant. Now they're on a 2-game win streak. But there's got to be some change. And I know Van Gundy is probably, being the head of basketball operations. I'm sure he's looking for something.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if they move Reggie Jackson for more of a playmaker type of point guard.
Yeah, because they already have all the tough guys, right? They already have a lot of guys that can play defense well, can rebound. They need someone that can score, take the pressure off.
They really just need a guy who can create for guys like Andre Drummond and Contavious. They just need a playmaker.
What do you think about
Jackson? Still has that like Russell Westbrook mentality at times.
Yeah, he's fiery.
Take off and score.
What do you think about the Rubio Jackson thing though? Like who comes out on top of that? Like I feel like that's just not a good move for the Pistons. But what do you think?
I think it's a good move for the Pistons. I think it's an awful move for the Timberwolves.
Oh, really?
I think the Wolves would just have another guy who's ball dependent.
Yeah.
Wiggins needs the ball. Towns needs the ball. Muhammad off the bench needs the ball. Then you get Jackson, another guy who needs the ball. I think it'd just be too many ball handlers.
Yeah, that's true.
Pistons, you have Rubio can't shoot or score like Jackson at all, but he can create for guys like Drummond and Morris and Tobias. So you get more of a pass-first mentality with Rubio as a point guard than compared to Jackson, I feel like.
No, that's true, no doubt. And I think sometimes, like, fans especially want their team to make a trade just to make a trade, if that makes sense. Like, they just want something new, and sometimes they get excited over, like, the smallest trades. Like, that's cool, but you have to look at, is it really going to make your team better? Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes when your team's struggling a little bit, you're like, dang, let's get that new guy in. Maybe, oh, man, we're going to get Reggie Jackson. No, like, you got to look at it. Like, it's not really a good trade for your team.
I mean, just think about it this way. The Pistons and Bulls, 2 teams that are under 500, they're constantly in trade talks. Like, they're always in rumors.
No doubt.
Cavs and Pacers are above 500. We don't hear them in a lot of trade rumors. it's just that common thing that we're like, if a team is struggling, everyone goes, well, they got to change it. They won't get better. You got to make a move.
And there's a lot, and
So,
like when teams are doing bad, there's a lot of rumors that float around, especially on social media, and people just love to drive that, like the Jaleel Okafor to Chicago. Like, what does that do long term for your team? I think, I think it's just nice to see something new, like seeing a player in your jersey. Like, it's really not gonna make your team. Jaleel Okafor is not sending the Bulls to the playoffs, like over the hump. So,
well, I mean, we can touch on that. Do you think if they would trade for Okafor, that means Jimmy Butler goes to Philly?
man, that's tough. Um, I don't know. I don't think so. First of all, I don't think the Bulls would ever. I don't think they're going to take Jaleel Okafor, but I don't think that was your question. I think it was,
I
if
mean,
they
do you think if they do that, do you think that means they send
Butler
Butler
to the.
to Philly? Or do you think
I hope so. That'd be amazing. I mean, trust the process would be dang. We're in the now we're processing people.
now we're
Like,
now we're contenders? I mean,
yeah,
not
like
contenders,
can you
but
imagine? Like, I want to see Jimmy Butler on the Sixers. I don't know. First of all, it'd be cool to see a superstar on just a really trash team, like just middle of the season, just throw Jimmy Butler on the Sixers. Like that
well,
thought to
I think
that,
you go back to shooting guard because I think Ben Simmons comes back after the All-Star break.
which I just want to throw like 10 seconds on that. I am so excited because like throw it back way to the Jabari thing when he got hurt. Like imagine how disappointed and like sad the Bucks fans were. Like I was so amped for Ben Simmons to come in. I even got a jersey, right? I got the Ben Simmons jersey before the season. So
Yeah, look at you.
yeah, you want to talk about jinx? I felt terrible I think I was in depression for a week, honestly. No,
Surprised
but
you didn't throw that jersey away.
no, stop because I know. But anyway, the point that I want to make is I was so sad when I saw the ESPN drop that about Simmons. I was like, no, please don't be injured. So I can't even imagine. Like I don't have much tied into this guy. Like being a Bucks fan, you tied into Jabari. Like I don't know. That's so random, but it was so sad. Like to see, I don't know, it's so sad.
Just injuries, man. They're
I
always
know.
sad, and you just never can predict them.
No, that's the thing too. Like it just hits you out of nowhere.
Well, it's Friday. And, thank God it's Friday. So
TGIF,
what?
baby.
So what game should I be thankful for tonight, Matt?
Kory, I mean, this is like, you already know what I'm gonna say. All right, we got tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time on maybe a channel maybe people don't know about called ESPN. It's kind of not a major one or anything. Indiana Pacers versus the Washington Wizards. Let's talk about it because first of all, there's so many things to be excited about. I'll take you through just a couple. The Wizards, we talked about their game against the Cavs, right? So we know what they can do. The Pacers, they're 6 games above 500. They're playing well. So they're coming in hot. These are two of the best teams in the East. And I think they want to prove like who's going to be it's like a battle for who's going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs at this point. And I think this is going to be a really nice game to watch. It's in Washington, and watching that game against the Cavs was amazing because their fans were crazy. So that's another thing to watch. And then let's talk about Paul George against John Wall. They probably won't be on each other a lot, and they don't play the same position, but they're superstars. And this is going to be a really great game. I know you're probably pumped about it, but what do you think, man?
Yeah. Well, like you said, the Wizards they won 17 straight before the Cavs came in town. The Pacers were on a 7-game win streak before the Cavs ended that 2 nights ago, and the Pacers are 2 games back from the Wizards in the loss column and in the win count. They're 2 games back from being a 3 seed.
Yeah.
The Pacers, they're 20-7 at home, 19-16 on the road. So when you're going to Washington, not only is Washington very good at home, but as the Pacers, you need to now start winning on the road.
Yeah.
You got to start winning road games if you want to make yourself a playoff team, like a serious contender in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So for the Pacers, you need to come out strong. You need Paul George to be aggressive. And for the Wizards, you want to do what you've been doing. You want to take care of home court.
I'll ask you this, Kory. We have John Wall and Bradley Beal, right? And we saw what they could do as a duo. Who for the Pacers? We got Paul George, but who's going to be that second guy? Who do you think's big tonight for them?
I'm going to say Turner.
Turner.
Gortat is very good. Gortat is arguably a top 10 center when he's going with John Wall healthy because he's so lethal down low.
Yeah.
He's just got a very simple arrangement of moves.
He's great on defense. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I just think Turner's due for a big game. And I just feel like as if Turner's going to be the vocal point down low and just trying to beat it to Gortat. So I'm going to say it's going to be a Turner and George attack, which isn't very wild. I mean, that's not a
That's
crazy
still something to look
assumption.
forward to, though, for sure, because I think Turner can stretch out Gortat just a little bit. Gortat can shoot the mid range, but I don't think Turner's way more comfortable the farther you get away from the basket. So I think that a pick and roll with Paul George and Miles Turner, and Turner kind of fades towards the 3-point line or a mid range shot.
Right.
I think because if you're gonna go Miles Turner at Gortat down low, I'll take Gortat all day because I saw what he did against LeBron. He was and the rest of the Cavs. He was just swatting them left and right. So
Which will be helpful too, Turner pulling Gortat away from the
exactly,
basket.
exactly,
Something
and
the
that
Cavs can't do because Tristan can't, shoot
yeah,
like that.
exactly. That's a good point, and that's gonna get guys easy layups too with Gortat kind of being pulled out. So no, I
It'll
think
give Teague and Monte and guys like that the ability to really drive.
exactly. I think you nailed it on the head with that right there because Um, like a lot of people will probably want to say, well, it's got to be Monte Ellis or Jeff Teague, right, to combat against Bradley Beal. No, you got to look at it because you got to pull Gortat off the rim somehow. And I think, like you said, the Cavs kind of struggle with that because, I mean, Tristan Thompson does not shoot threes at all. But so that's a really great game for us, on Friday. That's going to start us off great. What do you think going forward? Kind of step it back a little bit. What do we got for a key game moving forward on the next week?
Well, I'm torn between two games. I'm a Pacers and Cavs play again next week on Wednesday. Everyone loves the Paul George LeBron James matchup. But that's not the game I think is going to be the game of the week. I'm actually leaning towards the Pistons and Raptors. They play together on Sunday, and the Pistons are one of those teams. They're holding on to that AC, like we said earlier. The Raptors have been hot and cold of lately. They've been losing some games they probably shouldn't be losing, and winning games they should be winning. So it's been hot and cold. And I think this is a game for the Pistons where you take advantage of a team that's struggling, and you might get a little bit of momentum going into All-Star Weekend.
Stop, Kory. Just stop, man. Come on, give me the Cavs, Pacers all day. Come on now. And you're even the Pacers guy. Come on, don't be doing that to me.
I don't want to sound biased,
No,
It's
stop.
just
No, it's too
central,
good. ESPN, man. Don't. No, no. But I think you're right though. Like, I think there's a lot to look forward to in the Pistons Raptors because, like you said, anytime the Raptors are, they've made their mark on the East for a while now, right? And anytime, I think that this would be a little better if it was in Detroit, but even more so, the Pistons have to prove that if they're going to make the playoffs this year, they're going to have to beat the good teams, especially on the road. So, no, I think that you're right because, I mean, I want to say Cavs. Let's just say Cavs Pacers is an honorable mention, right? I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Because also the thing with that is, LeBron James almost didn't play this time the Pacers played.
Yeah.
So who knows? He might get
No,
rest
I
next.
think you're right. He might sit out, and because the
He
reason,
played 40 minutes last night in a loss to
uh,
OKC. So you got to
no,
think they might rest him a little bit.
no doubt, and that's Wednesday, so that's going to come up a lot sooner than people want to think about. But um,
Plus,
no,
they play on Tuesday, so it would be a back-to-back. I'm not sure if they play him.
uh, see, the thing is, like they said, Ty Lue's like, oh, we're going to sit our big three, right? And then they come out and play. Like, man, it just makes me angry that
I think that was one of the things where LeBron's kind of like, let's finish this road trip out strong and try and win tonight.
yeah, it's just so up in the air. Like, I have no problem resting guys, but I just think of it more of like from the fans' point of view. Like, if I'm gonna buy tickets to a game, at least like I want to know who's gonna play. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, hell, the Spurs play the Pacers also this week, which is another team that, as we know, likes to rest guys. So
yeah.
if no one's rested from that game, that could be another good game between Kawhi and Paul George.
Well, and the thing with the Spurs this year too is I think they're a lot less likely to sit people, especially Kawhi, because they're not as old. Like Popovich is always gonna like be smart about that and sit players when they need it. But I think that a lot of the times we saw them sitting players was because it was the older players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah.
All right, Kory. Well, I had a lot of fun. I hope that you did too, because that's
No,
gonna
I'm
wrap.
miserable. I don't think I'm ever going to do this again, actually.
Stop. No, that's it for today's episode, guys. We appreciate. I speak for Kory on this one. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to be following along in the Central Division. Peace out, guys.